What's going on, people? The TheAireaidLord is back with another video game review. Do bear with me because I am a little bit under the weather at the moment, but I'm going to make an effort to try to get this video out because I did beat this game the other day. I have admittedly been procrastinating, or I was procrastinating, getting the footage up, but I'm happy to say that I did get it all up. It's all up on YouTube, all 31 parts. And I believe they're on a playlist. I have to check. I'm not sure, but I have completed, obviously I'm talking about completing Bioshock Infinite. I have completed the game. I know it came out, like a week or two ago, and I, played it a little bit, and then I was kind of procrastinating with it. But this is my video game review, and I figured I can give people my opinion on what I felt about it, because I do this with the games that I buy and complete. I did this, what two games have I done this for? I believe I did this for Dead Space 3 and Crysis 3. Didn't get to do it for Gears Judgment simply because, that game kind of spoke for itself. I didn't even get to do all of Gears of War Judgment. I played the multiplayer modes, I did the co-op campaign with Sandman. Other than that, didn't get to do anything else. There was like an Aftermath campaign in the Horde mode, which most of the campaign was Horde mode, so I didn't feel too bad about that. So, anyway, Bioshock Infinite. Now, this is the third entry in the Bioshock series, so I guess you could call it Bioshock 3. However, it's actually the second game from Irrational Games, because Irrational Games had no part in the making of Bioshock 2. Just for some history, in case anyone didn't know. So Bioshock Infinite. Now, the main thing for people in this game was that this game was not taking place in Rapture. Bioshocks 1 and 2 took place in this underwater dystopia known as Rapture, where a lot of the individuals had gone crazy on these plasmid powers that were introduced by a man named Andrew Ryan. And the story goes how, especially in the first one, it's this abusive nature of these people, and all of this deception goes on with a lot of these individuals under the sea, I guess you could say. Under the sea, I guess you could say that. All these individuals are kind of fucking around, and in the first game, you have to unravel a conspiracy with the man Andrew Ryan, and you need to kind of discover some pretty hefty things that occur within that game. And there was mainly, in Bioshock 1, you mainly were working between a whole bunch of different weapons, and it was really a means of knowing what weapon was for what circumstance, because basically once you acquired a gun, you would have that gun for the entire game. So you start off slowly with the pistol and the shotgun, and then you work your way up. And then you also have your health bar, which increases over time if you can buy upgrades. The big thing for the first game was the whole atom thing, where you could save or consume the little sisters for atom, and you could go spend the atom at these vending machines, and it would basically give you powers. Like, it would increase the power of your plasmids, and it would have other effects as well. And the plasmids could be regenerated through the Evo hypos, so you would never truly run out. In the sense you would in Bioshock Infinite. You'd always be able to recharge them if you had a little hypo thing. I believe you could have 9 at some point or something like that. But that was the concept behind the first game. The third game does not take place in Rapture. It takes place in a floating, I guess the opposite of Rapture. Rapture is a city under the sea. Columbia, as the city is called, is a city in the sky. It is a floating city. And basically, this introduces a whole bunch of new gameplay mechanics, because you no longer feel like you're confined to these tight corridors, because a lot of the time in the first Bioshock, it felt like you were kind of confined to these very tight spaces, and you had to make do with the little rotunda areas that you were kind of stuck with. In this game, there are lots of new gameplay mechanics that are introduced. You have the zip line. I forget what it's called, but it's basically, there's a hook. Very early in the game, you receive this hook from one of the guards that you kill. You steal his hook, and it's a magnetic hook that can latch on to this grind rail, and basically just by hitting the A button, your guy flies through the air at 100 miles an hour and latches on to this hook, and he can travel up and down and all around. You can go straight, you can reverse, you can actually if there's an enemy on a ledge, you can actually jump from the grind rail and assassinate the guy. Very interesting mechanic because there was never a system like this where you can move so freely and openly in the first Bioshock game. It adds a lot of diversity to gameplay because now you can use your powers while on this. You can shoot with your gun while you're on it. The enemies can actually use the grind rail, so they'll chase after you on it. So, you know, it might be a case of you having to turn around and shoot them, or maybe you need to land temporarily and take them out. Different gameplay mechanics are introduced, and that's the main thing behind Bioshock Infinite. You're going to have a lot of different gameplay mechanics for a number of reasons. So the first reason is it's in a new location and you've got this new grind rail. Okay, well that's one. Second thing is, unlike Bioshock 1, where you basically, when you picked up a weapon, you would never get rid of it. It would always be in your inventory. In this game, you can only hold 2 weapons at once, a la Call of Duty. Well, this game's not like Call of Duty, but in the sense that you can only hold 2 weapons at once. So, basically, just like Bioshock 1, there are a broad range of weapons that you could choose from. There is the rocket launcher, there is the volley gun, which is kind of like a grenade launcher, there's the hand cannon, which is like a revolver pistol, there's the shotgun, the machine gun, the hand burst, which is like a shotgun that shoots like this heated round, there's the crank gun, which is like a minigun that you can pick up once you kill some of these rare enemies. There's the sniper rifle, you know, more predictable weapons, but the guns are pretty much, since this game takes place in 1912, a lot of the guns are kind of like World War I kind of guns, you know, shotguns, machine guns. They're all pretty much realistic guns, in a sense. I believe in Bioshock 1, your character had some guns that were like I believe, what did he have? He had like, I think the one gun that they didn't have in this game was the crossbow. If you remember in Bioshock 1, that was a really powerful weapon. Your crossbow could shoot different rounds, and if you hit an enemy, it would do a lot of damage. You could set like traps and stuff. Very different. In this game, you can only hold 2 guns, and if you hold 2 guns and you're at the maximum, and you go to pick up another gun, the game basically gives you a teleprompt that says you have to swap out the gun. Now, the problem with this is that you can purchase upgrades for any of the guns that you find in the game, except the crank gun, I believe. You can buy upgrades at vending machines. The vending machines return in this game, however, their role is a little bit differently. Is set up a little bit differently, I should say. In the past, in Bioshock 1, you would literally go to the vending machine to purchase upgrades for your character in terms of, you know, healing items, and it would be in the form of cash, okay? The looting system in this game returns, so you're going to be looting for money, ammunition, health, healing items, salts, which is the new plasmid substitute in this game, which refills your special powers. So just like Bioshock 1, you're going to be scavenging for stuff. So that's something that hasn't changed. You're still going to be looking through drawers, cash registers, enemies that you've killed. You're still going to be looting their bodies for usually cash. It's usually coins that you're looking for when you go to scavenge from an enemy, because the more money you have, you can use your money to buy upgrades from 3 different types of vending machines. The first vending machine is for accessories. Ammunition for a shotgun, ammunition for a machine gun, ammunition for any gun really, and then you've got you can buy salt, you can buy a health kit, which will get you like 80% health or 20% health. And the weird thing is, it really doesn't cost that much cash to get upgrades. So, like, if you needed full ammunition, like let's say you're using the shotgun and you run out of ammunition, at the vending machine, it only costs like $8 to refill your entire ammo supply for your shotgun, which is 20 rounds. That's not that much money. $8 is really easy to come by. You could probably scavenge that off of one person. So it's very easy to get, once you get to a vending machine, it's very easy to restock. However, the game does limit you, because a lot of these guns, when you use them for the first time, kind of have a disadvantage to them. For example, the shotgun kind of doesn't really do that much damage, and it's really slow on the reloading. Now you can change this, because the second vending machine, you can purchase upgrades for your guns. So you can do 25% more damage with this gun. You can increase the clip size. You can have it do some sort of special ability. And there's different levels. Like, I believe there's like 3 or 4 or 5 upgrades for each gun. And it each costs a certain amount of cash. Like usually like $400, $500. And again, you get the cash by scavenging throughout the world. The last vending machine is the Vigor vending machine. And once you unlock different Vigors, it's called Vigors in this game. In the first game it was called Plasmids. And these are the special abilities that you use in your left hand, usually your left hand. And it ranges from a whole bunch of different things. Now there are lots of new Vigors in this game. There are some that return from the first game. The 2 that return from the first game, off the top of my head, is the Electric Shock, which was like the main theme for the Bioshock Plasmids. They call it the Shock Jockey. And then there's the Firepower, which is kind of different. It's called the Devil's Kiss, where you throw a fireball at a group of enemies. In the first game, I believe you just like shot a blaze of fire, and that was really it. The thing that's different is that basically there's different ways you can use the power. You can either just shoot them once, or you can hold it and it charges up and it actually has a different effect. So you can actually set traps. You can actually set like a fire trap on the ground instead of just shooting throwing a fireball. So you can do different combinations, and the final vending machine allows you to take your powers to the next level. So one of the upgrades I remember getting for the Shock Jockey was allowing the lightning that you shoot from your hand to chain to different enemies. This was in the first game too, and you actually had to spend Atom on it. And Atom was like, the currency of the secondary currency, because you had cash in the first game, but you also had Atom as like this secondary currency. In this game, there's only one currency, and it's money. So you're using money to buy health upgrades, well, not health upgrades, but you're using it to buy healing items, you buy ammunition, all the stuff I just went through, upgrades for your guns, and then also upgrades for your Vigor power. So you need money for all 3 of these things, and it's a balance between figuring out what you want to spend your money on. Now, this was kind of a problem for me for the game, especially for the weapons, and it's something I didn't really like. The fact that you can only hold 2 weapons, you're always constantly swapping weapons out. All the guns in the game, even if you upgrade their ammunition clip, they automatically have low ammunition because the game realizes that you're not going to be having that gun for a long period of time, so they almost force you to switch it out. So, for example, like the machine gun, during my playthrough, I constantly was running out of ammunition for my machine gun when it was a weapon I usually defaulted on to shoot enemies. So I was always, when I killed an enemy, I would just swap out for their gun. And it was unfortunate, but it was the way it had to go, because maybe I wasn't near a vending machine, maybe I was pressured by a whole bunch of enemies. It's just the way it worked. So, but the problem is, I'm spending like $500 on at the vending machine to upgrade my weapon. So what's the point of buying a 25% damage upgrade for my machine gun when I know I'm only going to be using it for a small portion of the game? I really have to pick and choose the upgrades for the guns that I know I'll use more, whether they're readily available, or if it's just a gun that I keep even though it doesn't have ammunition, or I know I'm going to use it, so I just save it as a secondary. Like, alright, I'm going to get the upgrade for the rocket launcher because even though I don't have the weapon right now, I know that I'm eventually going to pick it up for a circumstance that may present itself in the future, so therefore I'm going to get the upgrade for the rocket launcher because of that reasoning. So, those are some of the things. It's a new level of thinking for your gameplay, which wasn't present in the first game. In the first game, you had to scavenge upgrades for your weapons. You had to make decisions. There's a lot of decision making in the first one, whether to harvest or save the little sisters, because if you have less Atom, then you won't be able to buy more Vigor powers, more Plasmid powers. It was all about choices. There were more and more choices you had to make in the first game. In this game, it's more about just murdering the most enemies, getting the most money, and deciding how you want to play the game. That's really what it comes down to with Bioshock Infinite. How do you want to play the game? Do you want to focus on your powers? Do you want to focus on your guns? Do you want to take advantage of the new Elizabeth aspect of the game? because in this game you actually have a companion with you for most of the game. Sorry, I'm just going to blow my nose here for a minute, but you actually have a companion with you for most of the game, Elizabeth, and she has a special power where she can create tears, as she calls them, into other dimensions and other worlds. And this is like a big concept for most of the game. I'm not going to spoil it, but it does have implications for the rest of the game. But basically, she's with you 90% of the game. There are some circumstances when she's not by your side because she gets captured or something, but most of the game she's with you. And as you progress in the game, you're going to see these grayed out areas. It could be a mosquito turret. Obviously, a mosquito is like it's like a flying turret. There could be a grayed out rocket turret. There could be a I don't know. There could be a box of health kits, and if you hold X, she can teleport that box into the world, and then you can get a free healing item. So, as you play and you get into like a combat situation, you'll see there are different ways to approach it. You can go in guns blazing and kill all the enemies. There were numerous times when I did that and I didn't need Elizabeth's help, but you might want her to spawn in a turret so that the enemies are distracted and then you can get the better of them. So she definitely helps. And also, when you need something, she'll be there usually to give it to you. Sometimes the AI can be kind of clunky with how it gives you stuff, but for the most part it's put together. So for example, if you're about to die and you have like no health, you might get a prompt on your screen that says hold X because Elizabeth has a health kit. And if you hold X, you'll briefly turn to where she is, she'll throw you the health kit, voila, you've got health. So, very different because in the first game you were all by yourself. And if you didn't have health, you needed to survive because you knew if you died, you were gonna fucking, I don't know, what was the consequence of dying in the first one? I believe you woke up in a Vita chamber. In this game, I almost feel, now this is something that's also kind of weird. When you die in this game, you're automatically brought back to life. You lose a bit of money, and basically the enemies that you were facing are all dead. The enemies that were alive, their health increases a little bit. So if there was an enemy that was almost dead, their health goes up a little bit when you die. Just so the game is like, I don't know, I guess a little challenging, but it's kind of dumb because you don't, like, I don't feel like I'm really losing. I believe in Bioshock 1 when you died, you died. Like the game would revert you back to your checkpoint. I believe Bioshock 2 was really the first game when you woke up in the fucking chamber or some shit, but if I don't know, I could be wrong about that, but I know in the third game, when you die, Elizabeth revives you, or you revive yourself if she's not there, and you just lose some money, big fucking deal. I've never been in a situation where I've had no money and I can't revive myself, so I guess you might be screwed in that situation, but 99% of the time you're going to have some money on you, and it's just like Borderlands 2, where if you die in Borderlands 2, you lose a percentage of money and you just respawn at a station. It's kind of like that. And it really doesn't, it takes the challenge away from the game. Now, I played the game on normal difficulty, but that's what the majority of people buying the game are going to get for. So, it's just kind of weird. The game was almost easy. Like, even when I was in situations where I was fighting enemies that were hard, like, I believe the one enemy type in this game that was the hardest for me to fight was the handyman, just because he was like this big, hulking behemoth who would just completely charge you and run at you and smash you into a wall. I think he was kind of broken because just the way he was programmed, but that's just my opinion. But in a situation where I kept dying to him a lot, I was instantly revived, and it took away the aspect of, oh no, I have to plan out my strategy more the next time. No, I'm just going to keep getting instantly revived. I could just keep mashing the fucking trigger and then, you know, die again and then mash the trigger, and it's just a cycle until he dies. It just kind of takes the challenge away from the game. I don't know if it changes the harder you go in your setting, but I know for normal difficulty that's the case for most of the time. Now, the game, in terms of its length, it's a pretty lengthy game. It took me a couple hours, maybe about 15 hours, 11, 15. It depends what difficulty, how fast you are, if you really take time to scavenge, because there were some things in this game I didn't take time to do, such as go find, lock picks, go scavenge for the infusions. In this game, they're called infusions, which give you an upgrade. You can either upgrade your health, your shield, which is another new aspect of the game, or your salts. So, a lot of different aspects. I mean, I could sit here all day going through the different aspects of the game, but I don't want to make the video too incredibly long because I've already mentioned a few. But yes, there are a couple of others. Like, you do have a shield, almost like Halo. If your shield runs out, it'll recharge, and you kind of have to wait a little bit until the shield recharges. So I do think that Irrational Games took some aspects from other games and kind of threw them into Bioshock, but kind of gave them their own little spin so that they were unique. And the scavenging, again, is the big point, because you're going to be able to find infusions, you'll find lockpicks, which gives Elizabeth the ability to like lockpick things. And that's another big thing for the game. In Bioshock 1 and 2, lockpicking was a major thing, because if you did a lockpick correctly, you would sometimes get a reward, you would get, big bonuses for hacking, vending machines. In this game, there's no lockpicking. Your main character doesn't know how to do it, and whenever he runs into a lockpick, he's always asking Elizabeth for help. Like, it's almost like a kid who doesn't know how to tie his shoe, and he's like, "Mom, help me tie my shoe." It's kind of like that. Like, the guy's always asking Elizabeth this lockpick, Elizabeth, Elizabeth, and the safes in the game, if the harder the safe, you basically need more lockpicks to open the safe. And it's kind of weird because all you're doing is just standing there watching Elizabeth fumble around with this freaking lock, and then you just go inside and scavenge whatever was in the thing. So, I don't know, it's kind of confusing, especially since there was such an emphasis on it in the first and second game, and now for the third game to completely take that away. And I know there's a fucking dog barking, I don't know what's going on downstairs, people are being stupid. Anyway, basically, those are the things that have changed with the game. I do believe that most of the changes that have happened with the game were good changes. I welcome them, but again, some things with the game were kind of confusing. I didn't like how you could only hold 2 guns. It felt, I'll say it, a little bit like Call of Duty, where I was hiding, waiting for my health to regenerate, and then I was picking up different guns. It was kind of frustrating. However, I do understand that the game needed to go in a different direction to feel fresh and unique, and I do feel that the game was very different. I liked the changes that they made. They made changes to the game, but they didn't do it to the extent where I was feeling like, oh, this is completely different, the game sucks now. And the story, without spoiling too much, the ending of this game was probably one of the best endings I've seen in a video game, ever. This is one of the greatest game endings. It took me by surprise so much. Please, if you haven't seen my playthrough, I encourage you not to watch the final part of my Bioshock playthrough. It will completely spoil the ending for you. I would suggest you play this entire game from start to finish and see the story for yourself. The ending is just too good, and I don't want you to spoil it for yourself because it is such a great ending. I was in complete and utter shock. That dog better shut the fuck up. I'm getting so pissed right now. People being disrespectful. Anyway, yeah, the ending was phenomenal. I highly encourage, if you don't know what the ending is, I'm not going to spoil it, but it's a shocker. It's something that took me completely by surprise that I wasn't expecting, and it's like a wow, and it kind of lives up to the title Bioshock Infinite with, infinite realms and all this other shit going on. Pretty crazy. So, to wrap up this update and to wrap it up because people are being loud outside, Bioshock Infinite, I'm going to have to give this game a 9.25, and I'm going to give it that because it was a great game. It's long, doesn't have any crappy multiplayer. You get a lot of value for your dollar for this game. It's pretty long. Even doing the game on a normal difficulty, it'll still take you pretty long to do it, and even longer if you take the time to do the scavenging stuff. Pretty enjoyable experience. I really enjoyed playing this game, even though I was kind of taking hiatuses because of how the views were doing for the playthrough. I still really enjoyed the game. Again, you can get more content out of it by scavenging more stuff, just like the previous games. But I really enjoyed the game. One of the best games of the year so far, probably the best so far. The games that have come out thus far have been shit. This is a refresher in a very long time of a line of crappy releases. We finally have a breather with this game. So I highly suggest people check out Bioshock Infinite. Definitely get it. This is my review. I'm giving the game a 9.25. And that's all I have to say. So thanks for watching the review. I'll be back with more game reviews once I play more games. I believe the next game I will be playing in its entirety is Dead Island Riptide with a couple of friends, as long as I can get that working. But other than that, that's it for the review. If you have any questions, I hope I covered everything. I did mention the new enemy types, which, there's no more the Big Daddy, which was a big part of the Bioshock series, is not in this game at all. which is it's different, but you know, again, as I said, the changes were good. They're welcome changes. They're very different. If you're playing Bioshock 1 into this one, you're going to see a difference, but I think the difference is welcomed enough. There are some things that kind of irk me about the game in a sense, but I still think that the way the game is set up still is a formula for success. So thank you for watching the video. I will see you guys later.